Hello, everyone. Welcome to Being Vulnerable. This is season 2, episode 3. We've been on kind of a hiatus, took a couple weeks off because I was going through some stuff. But I got a special guest lined up for you today. Um, Amy,
Hello, everybody.
tell the world a little about yourself.
So I'm a sound mixer. I mix music, films. I want to make some TV shows. I grew up in Colorado. Went to CU Denver. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
I thank you for joining. You're the first person that I've been on the show that I've met before being on the show,
That's so funny.
in person at least. Yeah, so we're gonna get a little vulnerable with y'all tonight.
Chris and I went to school together.
Even though we weren't in a single class together, but I think you were
Yeah,
a grade lower than me, right?
I have no idea. All I know is that I switched from a film major to a film minor because they wouldn't let me into the studios.
Uh,
So I became an audio production major, and so I did like 1 year as a film major, and then the rest of it was spent in the recording arts program.
uh,
So I have no idea. I do know that we met through the film program though, and I worked on one of his films.
I actually remember the day we met. Um, but just before we got that, I'm actually the complete opposite. I did 1 year in the music department, and then I went in and did the film department. So we're like the complete opposite in
Oh,
that
that's so
sense.
funny. So why did you join the film department?
Um, it chose me. I joined when it was theater, film, and television. I switched in. I got in through the theater department.
Ah,
Because you know how like the film department has like, there's like a audition tape you have to send in and stuff. Um, my freshman year when I was in the music department, I took a theater class and I actually was the one who was picked to direct the final student play that we performed for everybody. And like
yeah.
it was my script that was written and I directed it. And the theater professor was like, "You have this real skill in this. Think about joining our department." And at that time, I couldn't get it in the songwriting department because my I wasn't singing good enough.
Oh,
And so like the theater department wanted me, and I was just like, I do love doing this, so I joined it. That summer, they cut out the theater part of film and television, so I just ended up in film and television. And it was a
see,
little too late to switch because of financial aid and stuff, so
yeah.
I just stuck with it.
See, when I joined, they had the audition track and the non-audition track, so you could get away with not being a good singer.
Well, so I got in through the non-audition track just because
Oh, okay.
I like ace the test and all this stuff. But
I see.
so I got in as just a music business student or like the
Oh,
generic
I
music.
see. Yeah,
And but my dream was to get into the singer-songwriter department.
I see.
Yeah. And I when I auditioned, I they told me that my songwriting was good, my performance was good, my composition was good, but I needed
Mhm.
to work on my singing. So like I hit like all the marks except one thing.
Oh
And
man,
when I told other music professors that, and they're like, they're gonna make you do 4 years of singing anyways. Why didn't they just bring you in? Because if you hit all these other marks, so
yeah,
I took vocal lessons that spring semester, and I took a theater class for my like stage presence. So like
nice.
I was gonna go back and audition again and hopefully get back in, but it wasn't worth the risk of just being, hanging in the music department trying to get into this. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, the theater department wanted me, but yeah, that's how
yeah.
I kind of entered in that because it was more valid. I finally got validation, which was kind of crazy because my validation for my music finally came my junior year when I did the my musical, and then I won the best score in music. I'm like, I'm finally getting validated for my music when I'm
That's so
in the
nice.
film department.
That's
It's already
so cool.
it's already too late.
And we both won best sound, or the films we worked on won best sound as well.
Well, I won best score. Did you win best? Did y'all for Paperhead?
So Printerhead.
Pinterhead.
Yeah, so Printerhead won best sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I was up for hours working on that thing. That was my favorite project so far.
Yeah, doing
Yeah.
sound for film, especially in the film department where they're like, all right, you got a week because they're like finally
I
get
know.
picture cut and then you get a week.
I know a couple guys at Warner Brothers, and I ask them questions sometimes about film, and one of the things that I asked was like, how long does it take you to mix a film, or like the sound department in general, because there's like 30 people
Yeah.
working on it, you know what I mean? So he said it takes anywhere from 3 weeks to a year depending on the budget, but that's like for a feature film. The films we worked on were a lot shorter than that. But
Yeah.
giving us a week to mix a film, that's a pretty tight one, especially with school going on.
Yeah, I mean, my most stressful time as a film person was when I was doing all the sound mixing and like the sound design for oh, it's called it was my junior year episodic and I had like one episode to do. 'Tis the Season was it called.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever watched that our episodic that year, but I stressed the hell out of myself because the whole I had everybody relying on me to make this sound because it was the episodic class. So there was like 50 people in this
Oh
class,
man.
and I stood up for like 3 days straight working on it to the point where I was like when it was due, I was in the lab still trying to
Oh man.
use isotope to clean the audio. I
Oh
spent
man.
I spent a whole night in there like no sleep all by myself in this dark basement of the Tivoli editing
Yeah.
trying yeah it was
The dark basement of the Tivoli.
yeah, but at the end of the day, because I put that extra effort in, I had the best sound design and all this stuff, and yeah,
Yeah, exactly. You put that the work in, you're gonna get the results.
and I was like delirious in that class and that because it was like our final week, like the week before final week, but yeah,
Yeah.
sound design and editing in film school is just ridiculous because you don't have a team. It's like you.
Yeah. It's just you. Yeah.
That yeah, that led me down some very imposter syndrome. It's just because I put all that pressure on me, even though it wasn't really, no one was actually putting that pressure on me, but I knew how many people were actually relying on me to finish this um,
Right.
sound
Yeah.
because they did a really good job at filming it. But the person who recorded sound on one of the scenes, they forgot to hit record or they forgot to like change the laws or something. They
Oh.
did something. So like the whole first half of it, there was no audio. And
No.
so I had to take audio and overdub that audio on top of the scenes that the editor chose.
So how did you overdub? Did you have to bring the actors in?
I didn't have time. What I ended up doing was I ended up like stretching, like taking the words and stretching them to where the mouse move.
Oh wow.
And the whole thing too is that they were in a convenience store, so there was all this hum and all this stuff. So I had to clean it. Not only did I have to clean it, I had to like specifically put the words where the words were moving, even though they were said completely differently.
Right. Yeah. I'm
And that's
working
what,
on
yeah, that's what took so long.
I'm working on this film right now where like um there are dialogue tracks, but there's other stuff on that track, right? And so the director is like, "Can you bring this up?" And I'm like, "I can't do that in that specific track. It has to be
Yeah.
like on separate tracks." So I've had to foley my way through these things like to like kind of blend it and stuff like that, because if I turn one thing up, it's going to turn everything else up, you know. And then if that happens, you can zero in on a frequency, but sometimes you can't find the frequency, or the frequency isn't strong enough. So like yeah, you have to find other ways to do it.
Yeah, it's almost like a puzzle, but it's also like problem solving, but you also have to use this very technical aspect of knowing how sound works to just get everything to actually even out at the end.
Yeah.
Um, and thankfully we had Isotope, because if we didn't have Isotope,
Oh
that that
man.
that it would have ended up really bad.
Thank goodness for Isotope.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last film I worked on, The Flamingo Effect, there's a scene where they were outside and it kept cutting to the different characters, and every time it cut, you'd hear a different car passing by. And so actually I was fortunate enough to work with someone who had been mixing in LA for 10 years. And he actually used the spectral analyzer to like get rid of some of that noise. And I don't know how to use that, so I'm really glad he was there for that.
See, I know the I know the I know the I know the theory of using the spectra analyzer, but the
Yeah.
application of it is
Yeah.
like it's so much harder. Like I have to like literally sit there and like pinpoint frequencies and stuff, and it
Yeah.
doesn't help that I have some hearing loss as a
Oh man.
audio recording person. Yeah, don't go to an Iron
I
Maiden concert and sit without earplugs and be right next to a speaker.
I heard from one sound mixer that eventually all the sound mixers get hearing loss because they're like listening for so long.
Yeah,
And
they
it's sometimes it's about the length too that you listen, not necessarily the volume, you know?
yeah, I'm from my recording arts professor, because I did get my associates in recording arts. He basically told me, go 40 minutes and then you take 40 minutes off and then go 40 minutes and 40 minutes off. So like you give your ears a break. But with film, you can't you cannot sacrifice those 40 minutes because of our little timeline. Like every 40 minutes counts.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'd get to the end of the mix and I could not hear any differences anymore when I'd like put stuff up and
Yeah.
down and
You got to take breaks and stuff. Otherwise, like you won't be able to hear anything. And then you'll come back to it like a week later. You go, oh, that's awful.
yeah, I found that out too late that once I
Oh man.
once I take, you know, go to rest and then
Yeah.
wake up, my ears are fresh and I could actually really hear what I had mixed.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, with that t tis the season episode.
Uh-huh.
Um, I thought it was so horrible and I had mixed it so horrible and I went into class and all this stuff and I'm just like, oh, it needs so much work because I hadn't slept. And then everyone else heard it and they were like, oh, this is perfect. Why are you stressing yourself out this much? And it was
Yeah.
because I hadn't had heard it in fresh ears. So,
Yeah.
like any change I was
you
making was making it worse.
I know. Yeah, it gets to that point, and when it's to that point, it's like, okay, we need to stop. Because this is not gonna go well. It's like painting a picture, like there comes a certain point where you're just adding too much and you need to settle down.
I mean, yeah, I mean, most arts are like that too. Like even with film, you're starting to add too much because you don't think it's
Yeah.
someone not going to get this, and you add some extra dialogue that's like not needed or
Especially with mixing too. Like if you mix something really quick and then you go back and listen, if you still are hearing the thing you heard before that was off, then you might want to change it. But if it sounds fine, then leave it alone, you know?
yeah. I haven't really been doing much audio mixing with this series because I mean I even just was told by the audience members who watch this like it's not about the perfect quality thing. It's about the stories we're telling. It's about the vulnerability that we're sharing.
Yeah.
Um, so wanted to ask what what made you choose film? What made you choose production or producing or mixing?
So this is kind of a long story,
Oh,
which is
that's
good because we got time. Right? Okay. So when I was in seventh grade, a member of the band The Fray came to our school. His name is
Okay,
Joe King, and he's the lead guitarist.
I know them.
And he came to our school and talked about music and everything. And that night, I made my first music video on a game called Animal Jam. I don't know if you heard of it. It's like a kids game for like 9-year-olds or whatever. But anyway, Animal Jam is great. But so I made my first video on Animal Jam of how to save a life, which is one of
Nice.
their songs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big Prey fan, so yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I thought that if I ever win any awards, that they'll be the first people I thank because they got me into this industry. And then I started a YouTube channel that had like all these Animal Jam videos on it. And I would make music videos, and then I started to go into tutorials, top 10 videos, little silly videos, stuff like that. And then my YouTube channel grew to like a little over 2,000 subscribers.
Nice.
And then I graduated high school, and I had made that account on my school email. And so when I graduated, the account was deleted.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
so so what I did was I I I learned first of all that I need to get hard drives because I didn't save any of my work or anything at that point. And I learned to mix on iMovie first. That was the main thing I was mixing on. And then I went to college. Everyone made fun of me for mixing on iMovie. And then but I'm like, you know what? I actually used it today to like because I can convert to WAV files using iMovie. So I use it sometimes still. But anyway, um, so I got into the film program, and I learned to mix in Audition, um, Adobe Premiere, and when I went to the recording arts program, I mixed in Pro Tools, which is the industry standard for mixing. And so yeah, like those steps brought me to where I'm at now, I guess. Yeah.
Uh, that's pretty cool. So I gotta actually I gotta credit the Fray too. Um, so when I was at Front Range Community College, when I was doing my recording arts associates, um, my best friend at the time, Nick, his best friend that he grew up with from since he was a kid was Paul Musso.
Mm-hmm.
You know that name, right?
I know that name. Oh yeah.
He, for anyone who don't know, he was the head of the music department at CU Denver, and he came and spoke to us. And his biggest thing was like, the Fray came here. This is where the band met. This is how they um, created their first album and stuff. And I was a really big Fray fan. They were actually one of my first concerts I got to see. Their first time they performed at Red Rocks, I was there. I got to see them perform, and um,
Wow.
I love the Fray. They were like, they were someone who made it out of, Colorado, Denver. Like, also the bassist lived like 4 blocks away from me in Thornton. Um, and I got to meet him a couple times too when I was younger. And so his whole pitch of like, this is the songwriting department you need to go into. This is the one. This is the same degree you would get at Berkeley or Juilliard, the same songwriting degree. Like, he used the Fray as the pitching point to get people there. And
It's a
I
good
looked
point.
I looked up to Musso because he was like my best friend's childhood friend, and I got to meet Musso as more as a not a student, but as like an equal because I was friends with Nick, and
Mm-hmm.
his whole point telling me to go to CU Denver and like this is the place I need to be because he actually stayed for like this all happened because I started a performance club at Front Range because there was not anywhere for like musicians to come meet up and all this stuff. And
Right.
So he was our guest speaker, and then he ended up coming for our final performance. And he told me my songwriting was good, and I should audition for CU Denver. So then I was just set on CU Denver, even though I was getting offers for full ride scholarships for all these different schools, but it was more for like music teaching instead of like performance. So I basically rejected all of them and went to CU Denver where I had to audition, and I didn't get, you know, full ride scholarship, even though I was a 4.0 student and all this stuff. But it was just because of CU Denver's politics in that way. They don't really give full rights to music students or art students in general. Um,
Wow, yeah.
and but I was determined. Like in a way, I was following just the path. I was like I was confident in the decisions I'm making was the right path that I needed to go to. And so like when I went there and wasn't getting any validation with my music, but then I got it with theater, I was like, this is the path that I'm been put on. I need to just take it. And then I went into film and I was just like, this is the path. They're taking me down this path. And I mean, at the end of the day, I don't regret it because I wouldn't be who I am now with just being this multifaceted, talented, I'm not saying I'm talented, but multifaceted like artist. Because at the end of the day, I was a writer. I went to music school because I wanted to put my poetry to music, and then when I went there and was learning guitar to put my poetry to music, it's like, oh, I need to record my music. There's only one way to do that is if I learn how to produce my own music, and that's how I ended up in recording arts and just
Yeah.
all the little steps. It felt like I was going down the right path.
Right.
Then I hit film school and it was a completely different language. I basically had to start over because it was nothing like theater. It was nothing like music. They like
Yeah.
everyone around me had been in film for so long that I was like the odd one out. A lot of people didn't ask me to be on their sets because I wasn't the film person. I was the theater person in the film department.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard when you're like the odd one out. Like it, seeing so many like talented people around you and like um they all have their thing going and then you're like, where am I? And I have that thought a lot. It's hard to, it's hard not to compare yourself to other people in the industry, whether they're behind or in front or whatever. You have to look at yourself and where you're at compared to where you were a year ago or something.
Yeah. And the minute they started talking about cameras, I was like, huh? And then when they would like come down to like assignments, I'd be the person in front of the camera because I did not understand. I don't understand lighting and coloring and all like just the little aspects of cinematography that you need to know. Like my mind does not work in that technical way. I'm more of the creative way. And because of that, I just always put myself in front of the camera. And then I found out how much I love acting. Um,
Yeah,
so
acting's fun.
so I stuck with the whole acting part for my first 2 years and still never really learning camera. But people didn't mind putting me in front of the camera because I was just able to like improv these, remember the assignments that was just like, oh, go film a scene. You have the camera and the sound, and then I was just able
Yeah.
to improv and make stuff for people to film. That was so I got validation with my acting, but when it came down to filmmaking, I didn't. So when it came down to my scripts being chosen, everyone was just like, "Oh, he doesn't really know what he's doing with camera," and they expected the director to like do basically all the story design, all the stuff that later on in um I found out that the director isn't really doing all the framing and all this like the lighting and all this stuff, but they expected that as a short film director. Your art team and your cinematography team are taking care of all this stuff in the
Yeah.
industry, but the director is more working with the actors, which is what I knew through theater.
Right.
That is my passion is the creative aspect of film, and because it's
Yeah.
more like theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, I all my films and stuff are like almost like a theater production.
Right.
Yeah,
It's good to draw inspiration from different areas like that, like from your past and everything.
So when you went on to the music department, I did want to ask about this. How was it being a woman in the recording arts department?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. No, it's actually very dominated by males. Like there was one class where I was the only woman in the class. But I get along with guys pretty well, so I feel like I fit right in. But yeah, it is definitely weird, and I think there should be more women in the industry, definitely. I wasn't treated any differently from any of the other students, which was good too. I just wanted to add that.
I noticed that at Front Range, there was only one woman in this wholly dominated class with all like in the recording arts, and she was the one who was most passionate about it. She
Yeah.
she was the one who was probably more skilled than all of us, and she ended up becoming like she was my vice president in the performing arts club because I could see that she was so talented in it, but she did face this like imposter syndrome within gender of like everyone around her are men, and even all the professors were men, and like
Yeah.
um and she like we never treated her like that, but the whole we never treated her like she was, lower or like she didn't belong. But the way that the industry was set up, it was like she couldn't find a role model, a woman role model as a producer, even within classes and stuff. I don't know if CU Denver had any women professors that were in the recording
So
arts.
yeah, it's I think there were three, no, two. There were two. Yeah.
In the
One of
recording
them was
arts.
a doctor, and the other one had like traveled all over the world, and it was highly skilled in sound. Uh they're pretty cool people. But I have noticed that like all of my mentors are men, and like, all these people are men. But I feel like what it comes down to is like what kind of work they do and stuff like that. How they are as people.
I, yeah, I remember like writing a paper with recording arts where like you were having to research a producer and all this stuff, and I don't remember any women popping up as like the top, in the industry.
Right. Yeah. I do know that there was a woman who worked on Mad Max Fury Road.
Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
What
And that won best sound for it won a Academy Award for best sound that year.
what about in the music industry?
In the music industry, I don't know.
Can you think of any women producer that's like
No.
music? I can't either. Like yeah, and like that whole aspect because that's what it was, is it was right about a music producer and stuff. And
Yeah.
I just remember like a list of like 20 male names as the top 20 producers, and it was just I had noticed that, and a lot of them also weren't diverse. There wasn't many like Gonzalez's or
Yeah.
any other. Yeah, like the rap producers mainly are black, except for like two, the guy from Beastie Boys, and then oh, I forget the other guy. But then within the rock, it was all male dominated
Yeah.
producers, even
Yeah.
within pop and stuff. Like, hopefully, this industry changes with that. I mean, even on social media nowadays, there ain't many women that are actually like that I have met that are actually like producers, music producers. They're all
Hmm.
usually the um lead singer, or I mean there's some really great women guitarists.
Yeah.
Really the other one that the only time I've actually saw women actually within like prep range and stuff that were actually like in bands, they were always the bassist for some reason. They always
Hmm.
put the women as the bassist.
Oh, that's funny.
But
Oh,
I love women drummers. Like their their technique is so much more. It's not heavy. beating the drums. It's more finesse.
Hmm.
I love, love women drummers. Yeah, I wondered what your experience with that was.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I'm actually trying to get into producing right now on the side of on the side where I'm doing film as like the main stuff and then producing on the side. And that seems to be working out okay for now. Like I haven't run into any like sexism or anything. I think I'm lucky in that way,
and,
honestly.
and I never
Uh
saw the sexism like on a level was like, oh, you're a woman producer. I'm gonna have you. It was more like the industry. It's just dominated.
it just dominated. Yeah.
It's like, I haven't really saw sexism, but I saw the systemic sexism.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like, um, because I mean, it is a big thing to see someone like you doing the thing that you want to do and put yourself like,
Yeah.
because it gives you the
Well, like
confidence. Yeah.
when I went to college, I was like, what do I like to do on the weekends for fun? And I want to make that my career. And so that's why I chose this.
Yeah, I mean, on the indie side, I do know some women producers that are just basically like the leads of their band, produce their own music, get they bring everyone together. But on the industry side, that's not the I I haven't seen it yet, but I hope to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You'll see it with me.
Yeah. And we got your back.
Yeah, let's go.
We're gonna raise you up.
Yep. You actually introduced me to a great group, the Collaborative Artist Network.
Yeah, that
And yeah, they're really fun to talk to. And I'm doing one of their I'm mixing one of their projects tonight, actually.
nice.
Yeah.
See, I'm once I saw I f- I forgot if it was when you joined Threads, and I was like, oh, let me connect Amy to this collaborative artist network because
I
what
think you're like you need to join Threads
the,
in that because we're building something here. And then so I joined. Yeah.
what the Threads community is building is like this show wouldn't exist
Yeah.
if it wasn't like my whole first season was all Threads musicians, and some of them are really big. I felt a genuine humbledness by it being able to talk to these people who they're going to be the next big artist.
Yeah.
But yeah. So another thing I noticed in the film department, there was like barely any women who doing sound. I mean,
Yeah.
there was like one in each degree or
Major? No.
each
Each
level
level. Yeah.
um
Each year.
each year. There
Each
wasn't
year.
one in my year though. I mean,
Really?
you were the you were the one, and then we used
That's why see, that's why I got so many projects.
you and Brianna were the only two, but Brianna was a year above me, but she was doing like she did my sound for meaning for suffering.
I don't know if I ever met Brianna.
Like she was the other she was the sound mixer did that I chose for Invoking a Saint too.
Oh,
But
okay.
other than
That was a
her,
good one.
thank you.
Yeah. Oh no, I did meet her because I was boom op with her,
Oh yeah,
like briefly.
yeah.
Yeah.
She she was in the grade, and then below me, all I knew was Vicky and you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Vicky's still sound mixing too.
yeah. I mean, she's a really good sound mixer. And I mean, I saw you doing sound too. You're really good with sound. It's the attention to detail that is needed. Like in my
Yeah.
grade, there was only like two people doing sound. It was like what me and Johnny Porter would do sound sometimes, but he was not passionate about it. So
Okay.
when it got down to his, junior senior year, it was like he was wanted to be more camera. But
Yeah.
I, I my experience with sound in my year was I was doing sound mixing and boom op. I was doing both the roles. So I would sound mix while boom opping, and I did that for like so many films that was like
Oh
I just
yeah.
I just got used to just being the sound team. There was no one else. It was just
I
me.
know, right? Yeah.
But people liked that because they didn't have to get a second crew member or something to do. And then they'd be like, "We got you a PA," but the PA was just not. I'm like, "Ah."
Like they didn't know what to do.
So I would be like, trust me with your boom up sound because I actually at least will make this. I'll put the extra effort in and make it sound good. And that's why I finally started getting hired onto films. But before I showed my sound skills, which I showed on that episodic,
Uh-huh.
people didn't know how um my talent, I guess, with sound until the whole class saw it, and then everyone wanted me on their projects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like that's what stood me out, and I finally got onto sets because before that, I was a writer director. No one's asking me onto their set.
Right.
They're like, there's no need for you. But when they
Because
found
like
out I did
everybody
sound,
wants to be a director. Everybody wants to be a writer.
and it's
No.
also like these films that already have a writer director, they're like,
Yeah.
we have no need for you.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when they saw I could do sound, then I just started getting like I was doing sound like every weekend all through senior year and to the later half of my junior year. But
Yeah.
it had them to see me do it before they actually gave
I
me the
know. Yeah.
respect to do it. And when I went into film school, I was like, I already have my audio recording or my recording arts associate's degree. I went into film school like I don't want to do sound,
Uh-huh.
but I wouldn't get asked to be on any projects until I showed that I could be a sound person, and then I was asked on all these projects. Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. And that's how I first met you was I did sound for and you mixed my sound for it. It was
Double tap?
double tap. Sean and Will's film, the junior year. You did the sound editing and mixing for it.
I did. I need to write this stuff down.
You did because when that premiered, I saw your name on this thing, and it was like I was like, "Who's Amy Burke?" I had
Yeah.
never met you before, and then we were outside of Cinefest, and you were there with me, Will, Sean, and Katie, and I
Yeah.
finally met you for the first time. It was like outside of Cinefest the junior year, and I was just,
Yeah.
oh, I was like, I know you because you're like famous within these these
I'm
people.
famous.
Yeah, I
Funny.
then I finally met you that night.
Well, that's good. I'm glad my work's appreciated.
I mean, you're one of the only people wanting to do sound editing.
Oh
That
yeah, I want it. I want it and I want it
that's
bad. I love
that,
it.
that's one of the things that yes, I could do sound editing, but it is not. I'm not passionate about it. It frustrates me. I could do it and I could put good work into it, but it's not something I want to do.
Right.
So I always told people, yeah, I could record your sound, but got to get another sound editor because it's not. Yeah,
I see that's another thing. I'm the opposite of you because I don't want to record the sound, but I want to edit it.
and and this was what
Because
makes good teams. How's your experience been trying to get into the industry?
oh man, it's frustrating. But luckily I've met a lot of people, and so it started out where I was just trying to meet people. So I signed up for the Colorado Film and Video Association, and they have these schmoozers once a month, and I would go every month and meet new people and get numbers, um and then CU Denver as well. I would meet people at CU Denver and get numbers and stuff like that. And that was like kind of the foundation of it. And then one day, one of the people I met on a film set at CU Denver reached out and said, "Do you want to mix audiobooks?" I was like, "Well, this is a chance to practice my mixing." So I said yes. And I got onto this book and I realized how different audio mixing for books was, because like there's a whole like ACX standards which I didn't know about. There's there's like certain ways to do it where you have to edit all of the tracks together in one big long file. And so I had to learn how to use something called memory locations so that I could find my way around the mix, because some of these mixes are like 20 hours long. So you want to be able to find your way around it. And but the first one I was on, I actually got fired from because my first mix wasn't good enough and it didn't meet the ACX standards. And I didn't know you had to do the ACX standards. Yeah. And I was really upset. And but the guy who fired me said, stick around, we'll find something else for you. Um, so the next time I worked on an audiobook was this book called Sill. It's the full name is Sill Nucleus, and it's about a person who gets reincarnated into a slime. And no, it's not related to that show because I've been asked that many times. But anyway, that one was 20 hours long, and um I wanted to try my very hardest to get this done right. So I did it as fast as I could for as long as I could, while taking breaks, of course. And it turned out great. And I just needed that second chance, you know. And then and then I well, my goal is to be a re-recording mixer, you know, for films, but I think it's good to put my feet in different areas, you know, so that I can get experience, because you never know when the industry could change and maybe they don't need recording mixers anymore. So like maybe they'll need someone else with a different job. And so I want to just be experienced in multiple different jobs. So I also got a job doing live sound for a church, and I did that through LinkedIn. Um, I met this woman named Angie, another woman in the industry actually,
Angie's
and
List?
she's no, I'm on Angie's list. My boss. Anyway, I'm on her list now. No, anyway, yeah. So she and this church is in Boulder, so it's like 40 minutes away, but it's like once a week, so it's fine. So I started doing that, and I felt like such a noob at first because I had no idea how to do anything. And well, I had taken one live sound class, but guess what? It was during COVID, so it
Oh,
wasn't really live.
yeah.
Yeah, so I did that class, and then I got this job, and luckily there were some other sound people there that were able to help me. And then it was just me and Angie um doing the sound mixing. And then I talked about the CFBA, the Colorado Film and Video Association. So I had been there for several months, and then one person reached out to me saying, hey, there's this film, The Flamingo Effect, which I already talked about. But they were looking for someone to do sound, and they didn't have anyone to do sound. And I was like, well, I don't have any equipment. um but anyway, I had to tell Angie um that I had to do this gig. And well, actually, let me tell this story first. Okay. So um I did I was like, well, is it paid, or you know? Um and she said no. And I was like, well, I can't do this for a whole week without being paid, because there's like um I have a job that that I need to like keep doing to make money, so I can't take a week off without getting paid, so they were like, well, we could pay you, but it has to be out of pocket. And then they found someone else who was willing to do it for free. Turned out to be one of my friends from college. um it was actually Vicky. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, well, here's something I can do without having to take time off my job. I can do the post mixing. Can I do the post mixing? Because that's what I want to do anyway. And I don't have the gear to do like production sound, because that's not really what I'm in. I'm capable of doing it, kind of like you said like you can mix the sound, but it's not like your main thing, So, um, anyway, they they had me on board for that, and then I was like, "Can I still be a PA because I want to meet people on set?" They're like, "Sure." And so then I here's where Angie comes in. So I told Angie about this, and I'm like, "So for this week, and this week I can't work on these days." And so she asked me to get someone to fill in for me and learn. So I got my friend Ryan, and this is how it works. Like, people, so you get people who can help, right? So I got my friend Ryan, who's also went to CU Denver and was in the recording arts program, and was looking and happened to be looking for work. So he got a job doing sound for Angie, and he still works there with me. Um, but so yeah, that's what I've been doing. Just this Colorado Film and Video Association has really helped. But at the end of the day, I don't know if it's gonna be enough because like I eventually want to make a living off of this. So I've looked at other places. I've looked at New York. New York's way too expensive. Like the minimum rent is like 2,000 per person, which is ridiculous. you know, um, Especially if like say you have an internship and you have to like take some time off of work to do it or whatever. There's no way you can survive unless you live with someone else who's like a family member or someone else that's there. And so I was like, okay, well that's not going to work. What about LA? LA is also very expensive and oversaturated, and you're just working for pennies and everything costs a dollar. And but then there's Atlanta, and Atlanta's actually the same price as Aurora, which is where I live, like the same price for rent. So, and they actually have a lot of film stuff going on there. So I'm thinking if I can I could probably keep up some stuff in Colorado too. But like Colorado's a very tough industry for film. So that it's been very hard to actually make money. I've been able to get gigs, but making money off of this is very hard to do in Colorado. So unfortunately, it may come down to moving to Atlanta or something. But that was my long thing. Yeah.
Have you
Hopefully
looked?
that helps
Have
anyone
you
who's
looked?
trying to get in.
Have you looked at Albuquerque?
Albuquerque? No, I haven't.
Yeah, that I mean that's where there's a lot of potential in Albuquerque because New Mexico finally gave or they're getting the Hollywood tax credit stuff. So they're looking for you, but it's not the safest place to live and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
they're trying to get people there, so they're actually offering a like the bonus of moving there to actually get you settled. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because what I want to be is I want to be a writer. So there's only like two places that have writers' rooms is LA and New York, and most of them are like you have to actually be able to have the money to set up there.
Yeah.
Unless you get like an internship on like the Late Show or you get an internship within some of these writers' rooms that they'll at least give you a little place to for your first month and then you make money through it. But those
That's
are
so
they're
nice.
they're so competitive though. It's everyone around America and the world, actually around the world, looking at these writers' rooms. So it's so competitive. It's hard to
Yeah.
separate yourself. It's also
Yeah.
hard to get the chance because yeah, they open up like we need a staff writer, but at the end of the day, they're choosing someone they know instead of these people
Yeah.
that are
So you got to
applying.
get to know someone.
And
See,
yeah,
I told you about the people I know at Warner Brothers. I met them through CU Denver, and they actually talked about doing an internship. Um, and I forgot. I think the reason I couldn't do it was because I couldn't afford to live there. Like for that long. Because like some of the interns, I actually went and visited, and some of the interns were there for just a week and then they got the job, or they were there for months and then got the job. So it's like I don't know if I could keep myself alive for months in New York while doing this, you know?
See, see that the job offers that I've gotten specifically within like I got a job offer to be a theater director at a Florida theater, like it's a high school kind of theater department, but I would have to be able to move there and actually like they're not helping me relocate. So I
Yeah,
had to
that's
deny
the
them.
problem.
The the only one that I found that was like offered me to relocate, but I ended up not getting the position was it's called the Interlochen School of the Arts and it's in Michigan. And the
Okay.
only reason why I got the offer for that job, well, they offered me to like, we want you, come apply, is because I was an RA and what they need is because it's like a boarding school for art students and they want people who have RA experience and then specifically within the arts and all that stuff. But I didn't
Yeah.
get the job, but it would have gave me a year to move out to Michigan and be like an RA, also like a music I'd be like a music mentor. Um
Oh,
and like
nice.
I really wanted that job just because it would get me in the East Coast and I would
Yeah.
be able to start because all the kids who go there, it's like $100,000 a year to go there for the
Oh
kids.
my
So
God.
it's
That's more
all
than DU.
it's I mean this is high school too. So this
High
is
school? Wow.
so like getting there I would be able
But
to meet these celebrities, these rich people's kids who go there because it is like one of the most prestigious art schools to go to. Like they basically create the what is it called? The harmonic symphony. Wait, Philharmonic. They
yeah.
all of their music students go on to be on a Philharmonic in different states. But
Wow.
I messed up my interview. I was a little too nervous or something. I didn't get the call back.
Oh man.
I'm applying again for next year, but we'll see. But that is like the one opportunity that I have saw that is like I am now being connected and I could be relocated, not have to worry about housing, but I'm being RA again. And I don't mind being RA because I get to mentor students and you know that is a
Yeah.
big passion of mine is being a someone guiding the future generation. And
Yeah.
so hopefully I get it this time, but if not, I mean LA they basically have like there's no writers positions left.
Yeah.
New York is all internship type things that so competitive, but um, kind of stuck in Colorado until I do something myself. Like that's the whole songwriting thing. And
And
I've got
the cartoon as well.
yeah, and that's the cartoon is my only film project I'm kind of working on. I'm trying to get into also writing for like talk shows and stuff, and that's where Being Vulnerable started, was
Oh
created.
nice.
This first I first framed it as being a talk show, but the way it developed of just people being vulnerable with each other, it actually ended up being more of a podcast. So I'm gonna be starting the Carpal Tunnel show probably in February, where it's gonna be an actual talk show format where I have a little
Nice.
monologue and then I bring in someone from Threads or something like that, a musician that I interview or just anybody, but and then at the end I'll have a music performance by a different band. So like I'm working on that towards that right right now. But
Cool.
this is supposed to be a talk show because when I went to interview for it was the Tonight Show. They wanted some sort of experience within doing talk show writing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that. I only had, you know, film experience and stuff like that. It didn't really mesh. So I'm like, okay, I need to boost my resume by doing some sort of talk show type thing. And that's where this show started was, but
Nice. So it's been tough for you too. I'm not the only one.
You're not the only one. But
Yeah.
it if I chose to just do sound recording and I could just move to Albuquerque, like there's so many sound jobs out there, like because not many people
Yeah.
do sound, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of jobs out there.
Yeah,
Atlanta
I've
was
thought about that. I
Atlanta.
I've been told that there aren't any major studios there yet.
There's just companies, they're production companies out there, not really studios, but there's a lot of like it's growing right now in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
And it's mainly um I think it's mainly television. I don't think it's film. It's mainly television.
Okay.
So
Which is fine.
but they actually have open job postings and stuff like that. Like that's
Yeah.
it's but you have to kind of move to Albuquerque and stay there at least for 6 weeks, I think they said that they're
Huh. Six
um
weeks.
but that means you have to have a place for 2 months.
Ooh. See how much the rent is there.
It's a it's cheaper than all the other places.
Is
But
it
it's
cheaper than Atlanta as well?
yeah, it
Chris.
it's just a lot more dangerous.
Yeah. I'll get maced. It's
Uh,
fine.
but that
However.
is, however, if you don't have anything for someone to steal, you're fine.
Yeah. Oh no, they'll steal my speakers.
What's coming up next for you?
Let's see. Next, well, I've been invited to New York to help with a music video. I'm not sure what I'll be doing, but it is paid for.
Nice.
So I'm like, hey, I'll go. So that'll be fun.
And are you still open for other work for the people that are listening to this?
Oh, absolutely. Anyone who needs their films mixed or their songs mixed or anything like that. I will say that I do prefer to charge, but yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people here that are actually are more in the professional side of the indie music industry where they have money to do this and they ask for
Right.
funding.
Okay. And I
And
just got new speakers, so
where can everyone find you at?
so my Instagram is aimster_beats, and it's AIMSTER_beats. And it is a private account, but I will um click allow if I see that you're in the industry or I know you or something like that. Um, and then if you want to email me for any projects, my email is amyburkemusic@gmail.com. That's BURKE. And yeah, that's where you can find me if you're ever looking for work.
Probably a lot of people on here, or there's people on here looking for mixers and producers. So
They're
that
looking.
is
They're looking.
because we're all having to mix our own stuff and helping each
Yeah,
other mix it. And
don't
but
mix your own stuff. Let me mix it.
well, everyone, thank you for joining this episode of Being Vulnerable. My name is Chris, aka Carpal Tunnel. I forgot to introduce myself earlier, but now you know. Um, and this was a great conversation with Amy, and definitely go follow, support her work, and yeah, we'll see you next time on Being Vulnerable.